Bonsoir, mes camarades de jeu, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our campaign is Reign of Terror. It was developed by Mark Morrison and is available on the Chaosium website. Our maître de jeu is Mick Swan, and this is episode 10, which is the beginning of the second part of this scenario, or this campaign. So, without any further delays, commençons notre voyage dans les ténèbres. Mick?
Thank you, Tom. It is 1794. 5 years have passed since the events of Part 1. The heady days of July 1789 saw the people take their place in government, with the Women's March on Versailles in October forcing the King and Queen to return to Paris permanently. Soon, the King and Queen attempted to escape to Austria in 1791, but were discovered and marched back. The attack on the Tuileries in August 1792 brings them out of their palace, and the monarchy is formally dissolved in September 1792. The Ancien regime ends in blood as Louis XVI is found guilty of treason and executed by guillotine on January the 20th, 1793 in the Place de la Révolution, formerly known as the Place Louis XV. The king dies facing the blank pedestal where the statue of his grandfather has been torn down. This act outrages the crown heads of Europe. The new republic is now at war, and forced conscription raises a militia to fight off the Austrians, Prussians, Spanish, Sardinians, British and Royalist forces within France itself. Such tensions lead to the Terror, a renewed outburst of execution by guillotine beginning in October 1793 with Marie Antoinette one of its first victims. The guillotine rose and fell almost non-stop from October to December 1793, and it surged again from March 1794 with the execution of Danton, and continues to the present in July of this year. The Committee of Public Safety meet under the direction of Robespierre, and as hysteria takes hold, it is hard to determine who is an enemy of the revolution and who is merely unfortunate. It is a hot summer night on the 2nd of June, 1794, or 14 Prairel 2, as it is now known in the new Republican calendar adopted last October. Paris stinks of blood. The daily red mass of decapitation continues at the Place de la Révolution, conflated by citizen Robespierre's purges into La Grande Terre. The mass of a very different kind will be held in 6 days' time on 20 Prairel 2, that's June the 8th, when the Festival of the Supreme Being, the new state religion authored by Robespierre himself, takes place. The black carts roll in again from the cemeteries of Paris as bones are once again being ferried to the catacombs. People remember this gruesome work from before the revolution. Some wait around to see if there's employment on the night. Once again, you have been ordered to wait outside the catacombs for the night's first cart to arrive. Kings fall. New ways of life rise from the ashes of the old. The wheel turns, things go on, and yet somehow everything remains static for you. Back to the same job. A small crowd of people is gathered, ready to help unload. 6 carts pull in, eventually. Drivers' faces are grim, and the horses twitch their ears and roll their eyes as though they're spooked by something. There are no priests alongside these carts to bless the dead. The lead cart has a dozen silent passengers in the back, sitting amidst the bones. Curiously, each of them wears a rough Hessian sack with 2 rude eye holes over their head. You recognize riding alongside the first cart, Lucien Rigaud, Dr. Rigaud. who you knew before, but barely recognize him. He is a man transformed. He is leaner. He has none of that nervous energy or shortness of breath of old. He rides easily, swinging down off the horse with purpose. He is no longer Dr. Rigaud, as the committee has disbanded all medical associations and given permission to anyone who wishes to practice medicine. He is now simply Citizen Rigaud. His face is chalk white. Last time you saw him, he achieved that effect by wearing makeup. But now, it just seems to be his own pallor. He wears a high-collared jacket and orders the hooded passengers to commence unloading. They each disembark without word, picking up an armful of skulls and various other bones and walking stiffly to the catacombs entrance. Rigaud then addresses Sergeant Babin and orders you to clear out the crowd. Just get those ruffians out of here. There's no more workers needed tonight. Just get them to clear off. Once you've got rid of them, just guard the entrance. But for goodness sake, get rid of that rabble.
So be it, citizen. You are the man. Let's get these rabble out of here. I'm going to pull my gun from my waistcoat and fire it in the air and shout out to the crowd. You there, disperse.
Well, okay. Before you do that, there was something I was going to bring up, which I'd forgotten to mention before, which I'd like you all to do now. Those of you who have firearms, which I believe is all of you, could you please roll for me 1d12 plus 3?
6. 7.
A total of 14.
Ooh. Oh, well done. Okay, well, that number, whatever it might be, that is the number of shots you have, the number of musket balls that you have.
Okay.
Now, you probably have more powder than musket balls, which does give you the option at any stage, if you wanted to, you could just load powder and fire a warning shot with that to conserve ammunition. That wouldn't leave you. You haven't got a perfectly rationed ratio of powder and shot. So you probably got a little over, so you're okay.
And obviously bullets are hard to come by, so...
They are. It is not unknown for soldiers in these days of privation to cut musket balls out of their enemies and then melt them down and recast them later. In common with most other soldiers in the city, it has been some time since you've actually been paid. And let us say that standards, as a result, have become a little relaxed amongst the soldiery. In that, should you see something lying around that looks like it might be worth a few sous, the temptation is very much there to pick it up and either sell it to buy food or, more often, trade it directly for food. It's everything is very much hand to mouth, even for you. There's a crane fly. There's loads of crane flies.
Well, there's dead people
in my house.
I assume then by what you're just saying is we're all together.
Yes.
So
yes.
we're all under Sergeant.
Is it dark outside?
Yes, it is.
I can see them.
Well,
Listen here, you rabble. You heard what the sergeant said. Get the hell out of here. And I wave my bayonet at them with my gun. I'll backhand a few of them if they're.
It's a warm and very close summer night. So, to be honest with you, not a great night for standing around wearing thick, itchy woolen.
Yeah. These goddamn feet are driving me crazy.
And such is the weather that you really have all been spending. Even Sergeant Baban, all of you have been doing pretty much anything you can to avoid actually going into the catacombs, because you know how horribly oppressively hot it is down there, and in this weather it is truly awful. And that you're surprised that anyone can bear to work down there. And I suppose it's no surprise then that Rigaud's workers are all wearing sacks over their head, and anything's worth a go to stop the smell. But by God, they must be hot in those things.
And this is unusual for us to see them wearing these sacks. Is this like the first time we've seen that?
Normally, I mean, you've been doing this job on and off for 5 years. You know, it's got to the point where you've done this detail so many times that now the brass don't even think about who they're going to send to do this detail. You've got lumbered with this now. You know, simply by force of repetition, this has become your job.
Sometimes, Christophe, I think that maybe we died 5 years ago, and this is hell.
Hey, do not forget, there are perks to this job.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Put your finger up the bums of those corpses. Some of them may have rings hidden.
You've all enjoyed a certain. There's a certain degree of notoriety that came from being part of the raid on the Chateau Fenelek. You were very, very much, you know, striking a blow against the decadent aristocracy at a very well-timed moment. So in that respect, you know, you've got quite sort of reasonable revolutionary credentials. Beauman, who isn't here and is probably at another one of his meetings, he's been doing particularly well with the whole revolutionary thing. He's very much in with the crowd there. For some of the rest of you, well, Dupois, you're kind of tolerated.
As long as I can have something to drink.
Yes.
And I look forward to the day when somebody puts a bullet through my head so all of this shit can be over.
Well, of the others of you, you've done quite well. Baban and Ugel, you've both done okay. You know, you've kept your heads down and you've made it through the transition of power without making any real enemies.
How has Melody's family fared through all of this?
Very, very poorly. Her father was executed actually quite recently, only a couple of months ago, but that paved the way for your romance, and about 3 weeks ago you were married. However, it was somewhat bittersweet given that your wife's father had only recently died, and the novelty period is wearing off now, and a few weeks in you've begun to glimpse the very real problems of trying to keep a wife and start a family in a time like this. You know, it is difficult to find food for yourself, let alone two people.
Especially a wife who is used to such luxury in the past.
Oh, it is hard to keep her from being upset by these new conditions. It's certainly not her. It's not what she's used to.
Her father had entertained her with all kinds of stories of the various riches he had secreted here and there in case of emergencies, and sadly, the secret of all that went with him, and she is simply penniless, as are you now.
Mm.
You know, you survived you paid for the wedding and survived for a little while by selling her jewelry, but that's all gone. And even then, when you're selling jewelry in Paris at the moment, even the pawnbrokers won't give you a fair price.
Now, Nick, being that I have such a high sleight of hand, spy hidden, and stealth, every opportunity I get that I feel I can get away with something, I'm just gonna pocket it.
Okay, I will.
But I'm fair with the group also. I've been trying to like feed us all, and if I can.
I'll make a quick note of that. Possible ninja looter.
Well, I got a 70 straight down the board on sleight of hand, spy hidden, and stealth. So I'm going to take, desperate times calls.
Oh no, it's not something any of you are proud of, but you've all done it. You've all done it, and as a provisioner, gel, you've
exactly.
Things have gone missing and ended up in your pocket or pack. Just no question agreed. Not trying to sell anything or enrich yourself or profit from anything, but just purely to just staunch the hunger.
I imagine too that if we have any kind of uniforms left at all, they're threadbare and filthy.
Oh yes, yeah. Your the patches are probably the most presentable bit of your uniforms at this stage. The main thing distinguishing you as a soldier of the National Army is that you wear a tricolor rosette, and in comparison to what many of the soldiers are wearing, you're quite smartly turned out. I mean, you have they're patched and they're scruffy, and dirty, but they're still the uniforms of soldiers. Whereas for many soldiers, the most they can muster is a hat or a jacket,
right?
And a lot of the new recruits, a lot of the militia in particular, you'll catch them looking at your boots with quite a dangerous look of jealousy in their eye.
My boots, come and get them.
That's the advantage of escorting the dead there.
And remember, silverware can be melted down to make bullets. So
sure. Do we have a place where we bivouac, or are we like bivouacked in a burnt out building, or do we have a barracks?
Your barracks, such as it is, well, you were barracked. You are technically barracked at the same place you were before, but realistically, for the most part, you've been living in a tent and an old shack, just on the outskirts of where you're working at the catacombs. There's a well there, and
if they hadn't burned Fenelix's house to the ground, we could have made a palace over there. You rabble, get out of here! Back off.
So where's the prince? Our petty prince.
He's not
wrong,
petty
prince.
Yeah.
I don't know. Has he been eaten?
Lingerie.
No. If you were to go back over to the tent and your camp now, you would find that there would be a scruffy looking
Guard dog.
Scruffy looking dog with more than a hint of bulldog about him, just lazing about. As I say, it's a very hot evening. It's too hot for dogs. Has the right idea. It's too hot to do anything. He's asleep.
Well, Did anybody bring any wine? I suppose we're not supposed to drink on duty.
Who's going to complain? The corpses?
Exactly.
Well, in that case,
I'm gonna actually. I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna do something. Hang on.
to think after all these years we have come to this.
All right, you've been standing there on guard for about 15 minutes, and
Come to it. We never left.
without looking at you or acknowledging you in any way, Rigaud, Citizen Rigaud, as he is now, walks back out from the catacombs, across to another of the carts, gestures to a trio of his workers, and they take 3 more piles of almost exclusively skulls this time off into the catacombs, and he just marches behind them, not carrying anything, just marches behind them. Rigaud walks back in past you, and just as he's walking through you, through your line, he has called to pause, and for a moment he just stops, and he looks at Ugel, and he ponders a moment, and then he says, I know you from somewhere, don't I?
Well, all of us spoke before the raid on Fenelix Manor.
Oh, yes, of course. You did me, I mean, you did France a very great service. And make a psychology roll for me.
81. No.
I'll let the other 3 also make psychology rolls.
Yeah, 33 out of 40. Base success.
Nope.
I failed by 2.
Papan, you're standing just behind Ugel when Rigaud says this to him, and there's something kind of odd about the way that Rigaud smiles as he says that. Almost something threatening.
Is it a familiar kind of threat?
It just feels as though there was possibly some just very subtle implication of a threat. Just get the feeling that maybe, despite there being no actual vocalization of any antagonism, that there's just something about the tone of it. Just made you feel that he was making it very clear that he has noticed you, and noticing you is not going to be good for you. It was that kind of thing.
I gotcha. Okay.
See, when he... Oh, sorry.
Like, almost like he didn't... Initially, it was almost like he didn't like the idea that he'd just been reminded that you existed.
See, when
And
you
you
question...
see, as you're watching his reaction as well, you're watching his eyes are darting between the other 3 of you, and he's coming to the realization that he knows exactly who all 4 of you are. You can see that look of familiarity growing in his eyes. But he says no more and just takes up his lantern, lifts his lantern up again and carries on after the three workers who are now trotting a few paces or quite a way ahead of him.
The years have not been good to Dr. Rougeau.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of lean towards the group and like, I don't think he is happy to have recognized us.
But he did say we did him a favor and then corrected himself.
Well, he was one of the ones who orchestrated us going to Fenelek and destroying him.
That is true. He got me so nervous. I was trying to remember if I stole something from him to feed us. So I kind of panicked.
Well,
he's looking a bit pasty.
Yeah, he didn't.
Well, funny you should say that because I'll tell you what. Actually, give me a spot hidden roll.
Everyone?
Yes.
No.
Hard success.
Well,
hard success.
Regular success.
Okay. Well, those of you who got the hard success, because this is definitely a hard or over situation. He was wearing a high collared jacket.
In the heat.
Yeah, there was some. You'd noticed before he was looking quite pale. As he walked past you, you just got a glimpse of this sort of kind of mottled. Any way I can describe it, like a sort of mottled patch on his neck, like there's some sort of pigment problem or a big birthmark or something. It seems very very apparent given how pale he is. You certainly never noticed it about the man before that he had this big mottled birthmark on his neck, but then bear in mind also that he was always covered with powder. So this is probably first time in many years that his neck's seen the light of day.
Is this the first time we've seen him since the Fenelek events?
It is, yes. The last time you saw him was when he was handed the books and documents you'd found in the cellar, and had rushed off to with the aim of finding someone who could translate them and find out more about them.
It's strange.
Perhaps the good doctor has been spending too much time reading those books we gave him last time.
What do you mean?
Who knows? The Count, he dabbled in things man was not meant to know. Perhaps
I would have thought all those things were burnt eventually. But I don't know. It's difficult to decide whether he is acting strangely or not. He is a man who barely recognized us 5 years ago. We were just soldiers who did work. And now here he is not recognizing us again until he looks into Ugel's face.
Obviously, the good doctor is a capable man to survive these kind of times with the connections that he had. So, who knows?
Was this usual that they'd be taking down so many skulls and not as many bodies?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of executions going on. There are bones. There are other body bones, as it were.
Okay.
Piled up in some of the other carts, but then the first two carts, as far as you can see, are very heavy on the skulls.
And he does not look in good shape. Although, to be honest, he never looked like he was in good shape.
Why do you suppose he just keeps dying?
I'm sorry, what did you say, Christoph?
I wonder why he came tonight. I mean, there's more bodies going in, and we watch the bodies go in, but why him? Why tonight?
I just had the realization that this all started for us 5 years ago in this same place, in the same time. I don't like this feeling now. What did he say to you, Eugene?
If he knew me from somewhere, or don't I know you from somewhere, I believe. But I remember the doctor being a fairly sickly individual, and he came in, jumped off his horse, walked around. He would be fairly sick. He always had a handkerchief.
Quite exhausted.
Terribly sorry. I've forgotten a salient point of information that I should have given you earlier in the game, which is that Captain Malon was executed.
Oh dear.
He was put to death about 5 weeks ago.
Okay.
As
we know why?
He was a counter-revolutionary.
We almost all were counter-revolutionary.
Yeah, everyone who is executed is a counter-revolutionary.
And I was
by definition.
If we hadn't been so in opposition to the aristocracy after what happened to us 5 years ago, we might have been executed. I would have been in defense of the king up until that point. It's after that I was like not so sure that the aristocracy needed or deserved our protection. Something bothers me. You say he said, "Don't I recognize you?" Those words ring in my ears from somewhere. It's
When Fenelek talked to Babon the first time.
Yes.
Yes, and the only time we had seen him before then was his midnight carriage ride through our little guard duty in this exact spot.
Could all of you make a spot hidden roll for me, please?
09.
Oh, 15.
Not this time.
Just a regular.
I'm going to give this one to Ugel.
Okay.
Ugel, you've been doing this job a while now, and it's no fun. And you know it back to front. You know it back to front because there's hardly anything to know about it. You stand around, count the carts going in, the people going in. You make sure the same number of people come out of the catacombs as went into the catacombs. And you stop anyone from coming in and stealing shit. It's a very simple remit. But you've got used to the way things are done and the way things happen. And you're used to seeing the workers trudging in and out of the different galleys, moving the bones, stacking the bones. Are you looking down down the tunnel, just towards the stairs, and it suddenly strikes you that even though you saw the doctor carrying a lantern when he went into the catacombs, and there are men, presumably men, working, you didn't see their faces, working in the catacombs, no one seems to have lit the lamps on the stairs going down into the tunnels.
Huh.
I mean, there are lamps hanging up by the entrance where you are, which are intended for people to carry with them into the tunnels. All but one of those lamps is still hanging there, presumably the one Rigaud took down with him. but none of the other lamps have been taken, and the stairs appear to be in complete darkness.
Dupois, or Babon, Sergeant, it's refresh my memory, but it's pretty dark down in the tombs, is it not?
Yeah.
Dreadfully so.
None of our friends took lanterns down except the one that Citizen Rigaud had brought with him.
Yeah, but weren't they were all carrying body parts. Who was going to carry a lantern too?
Well, how are they seeing while they're down there right now if Rigaud brought the other lamp?
Well, that's what he said, right? Rigaud went down with the lamp, right?
I mean, we've walked those stairs day in and day out. We know them like the back of our hand because we've been here for 5 damn years. But these peasants who have been here maybe a few times with hoods on their heads are traversing these stairs with arms full of bones in the dark. Something's not right.
I don't know. If those brutes want to slam their way down the stairs, I say let them have it. I'm not going to hold a lamp for them.
Just something, a bell went off in my head when I looked down there.
I think I might have an idea of what's going on, but I don't know if my character should.
As Hugel talks, I'm going to start checking out the cart, looking to see if there's anything of interest in it. Might give us an idea of what Citizen Rigaud is up to.
Each cart has a driver. The drivers are just sort of quite bored-looking men.
Are they wearing? So they're not wearing hoods?
Nope, just normal carters. One of them is sort of the one on the first cart is smoking a pipe. From the smell of it, you get the impression that there's probably not very much real tobacco in that tobacco. It's got quite a bonfire-y smell to it. So as with everything else, tobacco is running out.
My friends, I am very unnerved. I'm unnerved by everything that happened 5 years ago. Every night I have nightmares about our confrontation with Fenalik. And now I hear this voice from the past, and I am very nervous. And I am remembering one thing that chills me to the bone. And that was that Fenalik could control the dead. Yeah, we were attacked by them.
Indeed.
And Dr. Rigaud is so pale.
That is what spooked me. How pale.
This is nonsense. This is absolute and sheer nonsense that I am thinking. But now you say they can walk down into the catacombs without any light source. I think when one of them comes up, we should pull its hood off.
Exactly what I was thinking.
I think we should scratch Dr. Rigaud and see if he bleeds.
Perhaps, Hugel, you are a little careless with your bayonet across your shoulder and it pulls a hood from one of them?
But if we are wrong, we will violate poor Dr. Rigaud.
Well, what I was thinking was maybe I could sneak down the stairs a little bit and see if I could hear them talking. Or just see if I could notice anything unusual in the dark.
You may pass out from the heat down there.
And if they can see in the dark, they may see you before you see them.
I never thought of them seeing in the dark. Maybe we'll wait till they come back up.
If we want to see under their hoods, let's just accuse one of them of theft and then demand that they rip their hood off.
Just take the hood off.
Just take it off.
Just reach out and rip it off of their head. I will do that. Someone make the accusation, and I'll reach out and rip a hood off.
I am making sure that my gun is loaded.
Well, every now and then, they tend to appear in pairs. Every now and then, a pair of the workers ascends the stairs, trudges past you out to a cart, grab a big armful of bones, and they start trudging back in. And you only have to wait about 5 or 6 minutes before another pair of them. You can hear another pair of them.
So when
schlepping up the stairs,
when they're about to pass in front, I'm going to use my bayonet to hook the top of his hood and flip it off.
When their arms are already filled with bones, too.
Yeah, that's a good spot to do it.
Okay.
Oh, pardon, monsieur.
Give me a dexterity roll, please.
Gonna stick someone through their head.
Well, I did not pass.
Okay.
I'm sorry, monsieur. Here's your ears.
The two workers trudge past you, and as the second of them walks past Dupois sort of over his shoulder without looking, kind of just sort of like goes like that with his bayonet, but it just sort of flicks behind the guy's head. And it clearly doesn't notice that it's happened because there's no reaction at all from the man in the hood.
Okay,
the worker, he just keeps trudging on.
I'll elbow Pressy and kind of stop in front of them. Hold on a moment there, my friend. I recognize those boots. Only one man who would have those boots.
You reach about that by the time you say, "Excuse me, my friend," and by the time you get to the word "friend," the guy is already walking past you.
I'm going to stand in his way.
No notice of you at all.
Yeah.
You stand in front of him. He walks around you.
Pressy.
I go up from behind him and just yank the hood off.
Give me a strength roll, please.
Okay. Got a 64 under 65. So I just barely made it.
That'll do. You don't need to be super strong. You just need to make it. You can feel like some stitches breaking as you're pulling this hood. Like the hood has actually been sort of stitched to the coat tunic that this man is wearing, presumably so it doesn't fall off when working. However, it's really, I suppose, it's unfortunate that you should have been the one to pull off this hood, because you, among everyone, very much recognize the face that you see when you pull off that hood, because that worker appears to be the late Comte de Benoit, your wife's father, or at least the head appears to be that of the late Comte de Benoit, because as the hood has been torn off, it's also disheveled this person's clothing, and the rough tunic it's wearing has fallen across one shoulder, and you realize that in fact that what has the body of the head of the Comte has what appears to be quite a slim woman's body. And all of you can see this.
It's a monster.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you all to make a sanity roll. which is going to be different for Pressy.
That is my Melody's father.
I just passed.
I passed.
Hard pass.
Okay, so for the rest of you,
Mhm.
a pass is 1 point of sanity. Pressy, what did you get?
I got a 45 under a 52.
Okay, for you, I'm afraid a pass because you know this person personally.
Sure, there's no mistaking.
That's going to be 1d3 for you. And
And I'm sure Christoph screams.
Oh yeah.
oh, he screams, and at the moment this thing's face is exposed, it drops the skulls it was holding, and this look of just pure anger comes across it, and it sort of, for the first time, you see some indication of something behind the eyes, just for a second, and only in the sense that it just sort of looks around in front of itself for just a moment before its eyes go blank again, and it just launches itself at the nearest human being, which is, in this case, of course, is Pressy.
Well, I would be behind him.
I'm in the front.
Oh, yes, you would be behind me, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, I'm in the front.
So Baban, yeah, so he'll launch himself at Baban then. Yes.
Not again.
Sorry, Baba.
Christoph saw the face, so he must have come around.
Yeah, or maybe when I pulled the hood off, it jerked his head, or he
Turned it
turned to
around.
look. Yeah.
So,
I mean, if I'm the target, I'm the target. That's,
I want to ask a quick question before we move on. The entrance to the catacombs, is there any way to bar them? Is there a gate? Is there?
Yes, there are gates. Yes.
All right. Just
So Rico, Rico, Baban, this thing is launching itself towards you. I've got to find your dexterity.
My dex is 50.
Your dex is 50. Oh, okay, right. In that case, you're going first. So, I mean, this thing, you can see it is. It's launching itself at you, but it's not a fast thing. It's more sort of stumbling and tottering towards you. But I'm going to say that you've probably got, let's say you've got a chance of an action before it makes contact with you.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to pull the axe from my belt and just kind of defensively kind of keep it, keep it back. Just kind of like keep the creature at bay.
Okay. Well, then the creature is attacking. Okay, the creature swings a punch at you, but you're quite easily able to deflect its attack with your axe. So the rest of you are completely taken aback by this, because this what you assume to be a worker, now this horrifying thing which has just launched itself. Baban. This is horrifying, even more horrifying given the years of relentless monotony doing this job. Nothing happens on this job. Nothing ever happens on this job. And then suddenly tonight, this.
Well, and how long has this been going on, and we weren't aware of it? That's terrifying. How about the rest of us? We have actions?
Yes, you do now. This turn, yes. And something else as well, which is a strange thing, and I won't make you roll for it. I'll just give it to a random one of you. See if one of you isn't being attacked. Dupois.
Oui.
You can't help but notice that as this thing is attacking Baban, the other worker, because you remember I said they seem to travel in pairs.
Right.
The other worker is just stumbling past with its skulls.
Okay.
Oblivious to what's going on.
Okay. Can I do something?
Yes, you may.
I lower my bayonet and I run forward to skewer the one that's going after Babon. And my intention is to push it back down into the tunnel and then lock the gate. Now, that's a lot of actions, but my character would yell out, push it back into the tunnel, secure the gate.
Well, you're about halfway between the tunnel entrance and the carts at the moment.
Okay.
So the tunnel is about 15 feet behind you.
Okay.
No, Dubois. We need this. We need this thing for evidence.
There are more downstairs. We must lock them down there. Let their evidence rot.
We've talked about this before. Those things could open up out into countless places. They could see in the dark, like you were suggesting. They're going to go.
I only care about them coming out here right now. I think the Count, wherever he is locked up in Charenton Asylum, is somehow doing this. And I'm going to try to skewer the guy and push him into the...
Okay, go on, give me a bayonet roll.
Okay. 20, and my bayonet is 30. So,
okay.
You say he's not moving fast. I really had to just walk up.
He's not moving fast. I'm not going to make you roll for damage because you're literally just like pushing the bayonet into him and into him stroke her and using it to maneuver them.
Yeah. Help me, goddammit.
It's actually considerably easier than you expected. This thing doesn't seem to be particularly good at staying in one place. So consequently, you're able to sort of start pushing it away. And in pushing it backwards towards the mouth of the tunnel, it doesn't. It clearly doesn't seem to understand what's going on.
Right.
So it's going backwards, but it's still trying to go forwards. It's still just like railing at you, still trying to attack Baban, even though Baban's now like 4 or 5 feet away from it. And just lashing out at everything around it.
Okay.
Just in a blind panic. And making this horrible, it's kind of like a sort of hissing noise, almost just like gas escaping from something. It's a very low sort of.
Well, I have sound effects, but
That'll do.
So I'm like,
that's absolutely, that stripped my throat. That has. I hope you understand the human cost of that sound effect.
Yes, let me do Foley things for things like that. So I'm pushing it back. I'm like, help me, you fools! We've got to stop these things. We've got to contain them in the catacombs.
I'll grab the gate, so once he pushes it through, I could close the gate over. We could figure out the details later, but at least then we'll be able to run back out of this.
I look over my shoulder. Have the drivers paid any attention to what just happened?
In that, one of them is sitting there dumbfounded. One of them is shouting at the one in front of him who is dumbfounded, and the one in the cart at the back is going. You can hear him geeing up his horse, and
But they're acting like humans.
yeah. Yeah, they look like normal scared men. No psychology, no role needed.
Okay.
Terrified.
So, Babon and Pressy, are you helping me?
Let's see. You're pushing that one towards it. What of the one carrying its skeletal load?
It's continuing shuffling quite slowly towards the mouth of the catacombs. It's almost at the roughly where the gate is. I mean, I say there's a gate. There's a gate. The gate is wide open, and in all the years you've been working this shitty detail, you've never actually seen anyone shut that gate. I would specify that.
No, so it might be old.
But there is a gate. There is
the other one's close to the top of the stairs. I run up from behind and just shove it down the stairs.
He's nowhere near the top of the stairs.
Oh, he hasn't made it that close yet.
He's not even into them. There's like the mouth of the catacombs, and I think I've got a map of this actually, but I believe there's like the mouth of the catacombs, and then the stairs are a little way in from there.
Well, if he's steadily proceeding there, then I'll go over and start to try to
push him forward.
Well, no, actually, I'm going to check and try to move this gate. If we've never seen it move before, yeah, I'm going to be concerned that it's rusted.
Well, Yosef is already there, so you can both see if you can get it to move.
There we go.
I don't know if we have any way to secure it. Chains or maybe there's a lock, but if it hasn't been closed in years, the lock's probably rusted too.
Right. Well, the creature on the bayonet continues to fight and lash out, and could you make a dexterity roll for me, please, Tom?
Oh no, not a pass.
What did you get?
I got 81 out of 45.
81 out of 45. Well, unfortunately, it also failed, so it doesn't manage to sort of struggle off of your bayonet. It's it's hard. It's like fishing. That you bring in a really big fish, because it's becoming more animated now. It's realizing that it needs to get away from something that's stopping it from getting somewhere else.
It's probably pushing in on it.
It's more that it's just sort of twisting from side to side, like it can't sort of.
As he's pushing it, I'm just going to run up and hatchet the back of this thing's head. I apologize, Christophe.
I don't think it has a brain.
Oh. Okay, could you roll to hit for that strike on the head, and can you give me a penalty dice as well, please, with that?
That is a 92 out of 60, so no. I fail.
Okay. Yes, you try and hit it. It's just bucking around all over the place.
Hold it still, Dupois.
I am trying. It's like a fish on a rod.
What kind of light were we using? Were we using torches or lanterns?
Well, there are lanterns about. There are lanterns strung up. There are lanterns on the carts. There are a couple of lanterns on poles between the carts and the gate. There are a couple of lanterns hanging up at the gate. And there are 3 more lanterns, one of which is missing, but they're not lit. There's 3 unlit mining lanterns next to the gate. And one of the hooks is empty. That's the one that Rigaud has taken down with him.
Okay. I was hoping for more open flame. Just now, see if we could burn one of these.
To clarify, Rigaud went back down or he left?
He went back down.
So he's down there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're going to be kerosene, or something equivalent of kerosene, oil lamps. So if you wanted to smash one over its head, it would burst into flame. But then it's a little harder.
Yeah.
More hissing, more scrabbling about.
Stick your bayonet in it and help me.
I'm going to abandon pushing the gate and just run over and try and club it with the back of my, like a baseball bat.
Okay, whereabouts are you aiming on it?
The back of its legs.
Back of its legs. Okay. Yeah, all right. Give me a hit roll.
74. No.
Again, you swing at it, but it's just, it's staggering around, and Dupois moving it from side to side, trying to keep the bayonet in it and backing it towards the gate. So it's really very difficult to sort of. It's just randomly bucking about. It's very difficult to get a bead on it to actually strike it.
I'm jerking on this gate. Is it moving at all?
We managed to get the left side of the gate to close. It's a very rusty old gate, but it seems stable enough. Just as you've almost dragged it into there's a hole where the
like a bolt goes down into it.
Where the bolt goes down. But you notice that the hole is full of dirt, so you just sort of moved it next to that. You have to get out your bayonet or something to clean that out, because otherwise it won't drop down. But just as you notice that hole is filled with dirt, you see the second worker, the one holding the pile of bones, is almost face to face with you. You just suddenly realize he's just there, and he's just shuffling towards you.
It's bizarre, but I'm not going to antagonize it. It could be another. Yeah, I'm assuming it's another disgusting creature.
It just shuffles straight past you, doesn't pay you any attention at all. Back to Dupois and the others with this thing.
Cut off
You're about 6 to 7 feet away from where the gate is, where Pressy is at the moment.
So I yell out, cut off its fucking head.
While he's holding it there, I'll take my knife and just try and cut at its neck.
At its neck. Okay. If you give me a hit roll, you're going to need a penalty dice as well, please.
I try to keep it steady.
I rolled a 96, so even there's no.
It's too flopping around.
I just swing it, and he pushes it with a bayonet or something. One way, I go the other.
Baban
has turned into a small black cat.
Wow.
Can I try a maneuver, which would be to sort of pull my gun to the side and try to use my weight my strength to just shove the damn thing back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'll definitely know that. Yes.
What should I roll?
Yeah, give me a brawl roll. Yes.
All right. I got a hard on that one.
Good.
Okay.
37 out of 85.
All right. Well, you managed to swing him round a little bit, and you then start. You get a little bit of momentum with the swing.
Okay.
And you just start you brace yourself and kind of just start walking him back.
Right.
Towards the gate.
Okay.
I mean, it's very slow because it's a dead weight.
Right.
Are they getting close to me, where I am fussing with that gate?
Yeah, they're about 4 feet away from you now.
I'd like to draw my sword and actually attempt to get it through the back of the head or the back of the neck.
Okay, well, this round, I'll let you. I mean, this round you could draw your sword and advance towards it.
Okay.
And realize too that where I am, my head's kind of close to its head at this point, so be a little careful.
I'm steady with my sword.
We both can.
Okay, as you're pushing this thing back towards the gate, and Presley, you're drawing your sword.
Sir.
You all saw it. The cat disappeared and Lucas showed up.
You all start closing in on this thing. And give me a spot hidden roll.
All of us?
Yeah.
See, that I made.
That I passed.
100.
Ooh.
88. I failed that one.
Okay. Baban drops to his knees and starts scrabbling on the floor, looking for one of his eyes that's just dropped out. And, Baban doesn't notice this, but anyone who's made the roll will notice that. Who did make the roll, by the way? Can you remind me of?
I did.
Okay. Well, this is particularly applicable for Dubois because you've got this thing on the end of your bayonet,
and I'm like right face to face with it at this point, trying to push it back.
You're pushing it back towards the gate. So from where you are, you're pushing this back. And Ugel, you've got a great view of this as well because you're just over Dubois' shoulder, so you can see this just as clearly as he can. You're pushing back this thing, which is stumbling backwards. And just for a moment, there's this instant where suddenly it feels like it's just resisting you and pushing back against you. And then you're able to start moving it again. But at exactly that moment, at the moment that it just pauses for that second and pushes back against you, you hear this clattering of skulls hitting the floor. And the other one at the gate turns round and starts walking towards you. It's walking towards Presley at the moment, who is the nearest person to it.
Behind you.
Okay. Well, I've got that sword out, so when I can take action, I will.
Well, yes. I mean, you can. Given that you're holding a sword, I could say that turning round and slashing at it would essentially be the same the same move. So I will let you do that.
Okay.
Also, these things have rather low dexterity, so you're going to get the drop on it anyway. So.
Can I do that now, or does someone else need to go?
You may do that now if you wish. We can get back to the other.
All right.
Creature.
Yeah. After he takes his swing, I'm going to come charging to knock that one down, put my axe in its skull.
Well, I've got a 70, and I rolled a 03.
Okay. I shall let you have that as a hit.
Is that max damage?
Not on this occasion, because an impale is an impale, isn't it? And you're very clearly just turning around and just blindly slashing at it.
Correct. Okay. I just thought because of the extreme success. Yeah.
I would say it's a crit, but it's not an impale on this occasion because the movement you're using is not an impaling movement.
Okay.
So you cut its throat, but it doesn't bleed, right?
Bleeds too much. And
8 damage.
Okay.
these are like workers / blood decanters with fancy collectible heads.
Oh, you slashed it. You put a great big, deep slash in the side of its head, to the point that as a well practiced swordsman and a soldier, you are more than familiar with the feeling of your sword smacking into human bone, and that's what you've definitely just done. You whacked straight into this thing's skull.
Have I removed any of its costume? Can I see if it's been pieced together, or is it still kind of hard to see that?
Yeah, the hood's still in place. You kind of slashed into the hood. You felt the impact. You felt the damage that you did more than actually seeing it.
You can feel that metal on bone.
Yeah, but there's no sign of blood on the hood, and in fact, no sign of blood on your sword.
Okay.
So for the other three, Dubois, you are continuing to march this thing now, basically towards Pressy at this point. So at the current moment in time, what's actually happening is that Pressy is at the gate, and on one side you have this the one that you've just slashed, and on the other side you have the back of another one of these creatures with a bayonet sticking out of it. It's sort of advancing towards you slowly.
Well, the thing in front of me can't really turn, so because it's
Dubois, slow down, Dubois.
Push the fucking thing into the tunnel. There are more down there.
So what are Ugel and Baban doing?
Axe out. I'm going to try to take another chunk out of the head of this one that's attacking Pressy.
Okay.
But I was first.
70.
Sorry. Dupois, were you doing anything else other than...
I meant that he's helping Pressy instead of me, and I'm the one who...
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Baban, I'm going to need a penalty dice as well on this.
Okay.
For the hit on this.
Well, that makes it not a crit, but it is still 47 out of 60, so I axe it.
Were you, and you were, oh yes, and you were specifically going for the head, weren't you? Okay, roll for damage, please.
10 damage.
Okay, you literally just bury the axe in this thing's head all the way down to the neck. And it just stops. And you find yourself standing there with your axe jammed in the neck of this thing.
Is it still moving?
No. It
Oh.
just completely stopped moving as the axe cleaved through the head. It's just like that.
It's still standing though?
No death rattle. It's standing, but only in the sense that your axe is embedded in it. Your arm is holding your axe. You are holding it up.
So I can feel it like just dead weight pulling down.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment your axe comes out, it's going to fall backwards.
Okay. Yeah.
Or
so
it's going to fall somewhere. But
put my foot into it and yank the axe out.
It's going to take you like the rest of this round to get your axe.
Okay.
Because it is deeply embedded into this thing.
Make sure you stick your fingers up its butt to see if it's got anything.
Hey, if these things have nobles' heads, who knows?
Take his trousers off. It's only fair he lost. It's the rules.
Since I'm better at fighting brawl, I still have the dagger in my hand, but I'm just going to see if I could go with 2 punches at this thing. I haven't been able to connect with it anyway. So
Okay, make a brawl roll for me.
Dagger counts as brawl too.
25. Oh, does it?
Yeah. Like clubs, basic small axes.
Oh, I would have hit earlier then. Anyway, I did a 25 out of 60. That I did not know. Good to know.
Yep. Only more specialty stuff.
So which weapon are you using?
The dagger then.
Dagger. Okay. Roll for damage for me.
What, the 1d4?
Mm-hmm.
4.
Okay, you launch into it and just start blindly stabbing away, and you get what you feel is a really solid blow into its arm. In fact, you feel the dagger ram into the bicep and rip all the way down the arm, and then as you pull the dagger out, something sort of comes out of the end of this thing's arm, causing you to glance down for a second, and more of a trick of the light, because it was just on the periphery of your vision, but it wasn't something coming out of the end of the arm, more just something coming out of its sleeve. In fact, it's a slightly bluish looking, rather fine, rather delicate woman's arm appears to have just fallen off of this thing.
Like its arm fell off, but it's a woman's arm.
You just stabbed it in the arm, and the arm just fell off. And it's a quite elegant, shapely woman's arm.
Is it like he cut it off, or that it like fell off like a lizard's tail, just disattached?
It's just like it fell off.
Ew.
I see this because I'm right there holding the bayonet. This is so freaking weird.
I know the instant that the arm comes off, it's as though it's like elevated this thing, and it just starts struggling all the more now.
Dubois, it's disarmed. Take care of it.
I'm trying, but this varmint just won't die, Monsieur. I'm just once again going to just put all my weight into it and my strength and try to shove it back to the gate.
Okay.
This is all taking place within a matter of seconds anyway, so.
Dupois, then, can you give me another brawl roll? Because I think it's going to count as another maneuver.
57 out of 85. So just a regular.
Okay. You push. You keep pushing it back towards the gate. Pressy.
Yes.
Baban has just appeared to your side. Smashed his axe into this thing's head. The thing has just stopped dead in its tracks. And you become aware of your surroundings. That red rage of battle has cleared momentarily, and you are now very much aware that Dubois is marching the other thing straight towards you.
And Baban had dropped that axe into the one that had been coming back from the stairs, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Baban is standing next to you.
So I want to squeeze out of the way, but
struggling to remove his axe from this thing at the moment.
I want to squeeze out of the way, but if I can, I want to see if I can get a blow against the one that Dupois is pushing at the same time. Is it possible to sidestep and swing?
Yes, I mean you can certainly try to attack it. It's it's got its back to you, so it's essentially it's quite vulnerable, and it's only got one arm.
Just a standard success, 59.
Okay, roll for damage.
Holy shit! Max damage 11.
Okay, you take a great big swing at this thing. An impact on its side, on its other arm, and you're quite surprised, really, when it's almost like your sword just chops right through it.
Huh.
And it's not a clean chop either. I mean, it's shattering. But it doesn't really feel like hitting a person.
It didn't feel like the same resistance of muscle and bone.
No. It's the only thing you can think of that you could compare it to was many years ago when you were first doing your saber training. Back in those good old days of plenty. And it seems almost laughable to you now to think that people would have done this back in the day. Looking back on it from a time like now when your belly's so empty. But there used to be a time when they'd hang up the carcasses of pigs and men would practice their saber. The young men would practice their saber techniques on those pigs. And that's what it feels like. Hitting this thing is less like hitting a living person and more like just hitting a side of pork. It's that same crunching of dead bone, that sort of that splintering and that absolute lack of resistance, and there's and tension as well. When a man resists a blow, you can feel the tension in your sword. You could, but this is just passive. There's no resistance to it. It's like striking a dead thing. And I mean, your sword just goes straight into the side of its rib cage, through the arm. Arm drops off, rolls a few feet away from the other one.
I don't know what to make of any of this shit. Normally, if I hit somebody with a sword, they're still living, and it's nothing like this. But I do make sure I get out of the way so Dupois can come through.
Now, for those of you listening to this on the podcast, I'd like to paint a picture of 4 very frightened soldiers on a hot summer's night, standing outside the catacombs, fighting what is essentially the Venus de Milo with the head of an old man on it. So that's where we are in our story at the moment.
It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, at this stage, I mean, I'm just going to let you just sort of march this thing about, really, because I mean, at this stage, it's got no arms.
Well,
its capacity to attack you by doing anything other than headbutting you or possibly biting you is very minimal. It's essentially, I mean, it's Mean Machine Angel if he didn't have his big metal arm. It's just a guy with no arms now.
I'm going to abandon my attempt to push it backwards, and at the same time, I will yell, "Get that fucking gate closed!" And I'm going to pull my bayonet out and attempt to hack its head off with the bayonet. Are bayonets sharp like knives on the sides?
No, they are purposely blunt.
Okay, they're sharp on the point, but all right. So that I probably wouldn't do. But if we can get it knocked down to the ground, then we can chop its head off. Just
Now-
keep it closed before the next ones come out.
While they're taking this one out, I want to make a dash to the lanterns, grab the 4 lanterns if I can that are hanging, and get back out of the gate.
Okay. I thought for me you were going to dash over and do a Three Stooges like thing and just sort of kneel down behind it. And
Oh, I was going to do that when you first started pushing it, but
Yeah.
no, we.
yeah.
That was one of the first things I thought of, but then I figured it would land right on top of me. So.
Okay, well you grab the lamp. That's no problem at all. There's three lanterns remaining then. Pressy. You start attempting to close the other side of the gate. At which point you realize that there is actually a chain on the gate and a big padlock. All of which would be quite useful were it not for the fact that currently that chain and that big padlock are being used to secure the other gate to a large hasp on the wall.
Holding it open.
Yes.
No, I can't do anything about that.
I can maybe.
Do I think if I shoot it with the musket, I could damage a lock like that enough to get it loosened? No. Okay.
Nah.
And then what would you do? You wouldn't have a lock.
I wasn't expecting to have a lock to begin with. I figured we'd have to get creative with keeping it closed.
I could try and pick the lock, but at the moment I'm fighting off the Black Knight or whatever we want to call it.
Yuzhou, can you get this thing open?
I cannot. I have mechanical repair. That's all. I don't have lockpick, unfortunately.
I thought mechanical repair worked as lockpick.
I've got lockpick. So.
Oh.
Yeah, I've just got mechanical repair as well as an engineer.
I have done many things in my times that are not so.
And I'm sure 4 trained soldiers can subdue this armless creature at this point.
Has Babon recovered his axe?
I'm going to say by this point, yes, he has recovered his axe.
Yeah, so rip, and then I come after the other one.
Can I, at this point, try to trip the thing and knock it down onto the ground?
You can, yes. I'll just treat that as a standard maneuver.
Okay. Yes, pass. So I knock it down.
Yep, okay. It has fallen to the ground.
Okay. Then, I just kind of come up and bring my axe down on the neck of this thing.
Okay. Now, usually there would be a penalty die on rolls to target the head, because that's quite difficult. However, it's also prone, so I'm going to say that cancels it out. So just give me a normal to hit roll.
And it doesn't have arms to.
Well, I actually rolled the penalty die anyways, and both of those were zeros, so I made up for that 100 I got earlier with an 05. So, yeah, extreme success, bring the axe down. And then
okay, well, I'm just going to treat that as a coup de grace. Actually, I'm going to say that you either cleave it in two, or you could even use the back of the axe and just smash the pulp it. And again, as soon as you destroy the head like that, no death rattle, no shaking. It just stops.
Like breaking the spring in a mechanism of some sort.
Yeah. Pry my axe back up and look at Pressy and say, "It is perhaps best if your wife does not hear of this."
Yeah, I'm going to try to unlock the lock.
Are you not going to save the head and bring it to her as a present?
No, I want to stay married.
Look who I met at work.
You'll never guess who I ran into.
She'll say, "That's the same present you brought me 3 months ago."
Yeah.
Your dad's home. I'm gonna go try to pick the
I
lock.
will be my friend. I will call him Wilson.
I'm gonna stand next to Dupont and watch down the tunnel and make sure nothing's approaching.
I want to grab a lit lantern in case I have to chuck it down the stairs at something.
Well,
Okay.
Nick, you haven't actually said that's okay for me to do. So
Yes,
Yeah.
that's fine. Yes.
I got 17, and my locksmithing is 55. So
Nice.
no, it's not a
Okay.
hard, but it's
Yes, you take a tiny, crudely made dagger with a handle wrapped with string and a lockpick, and you do this for a while because that's how you unpick locks.
Mhm.
Use a knife and a lockpick, and you go like
You got to
that.
get it just right. Till you don't want to break that.
So after applying the Bethesda technique, you pop open the padlock.
Okay, let's get this putain locked, and if we can.
Okay. You
Are
draw
the
the
guys in the carts already gone by this point?
yeah.
Did they leave their horses and carts, or did
No. The horses and carts have gone. The carts cleared out very rapidly, thundered off up the road. You drag the gate across. And then make really an awful discovery. There are two parts to the gate, one on the left,
right?
one on the right. The left part is now shut, and you're closing the right part. And it's only when you get to the closed position that you realize that the two gates don't entirely reach each other.
How much space is left?
Is the chain long enough, or
The chain is definitely long enough to chain the two sides together, but it looks like over the years, perhaps the one on the right has suffered a bit of rust, and at some point someone's just come along and they've just trimmed the rusty bit off the end of the gate, so that there's about 2.5 feet of space between the two gates, which is more than enough space for any of you to just sort of dip under the chain and walk in. So it really doesn't achieve anything.
It does.
Basically.
I'm still going to lock it. And
you couldn't take a cart in there.
And at this
or
point,
a very, very, very fat man.
Well,
of which there are none in Paris at this moment, I can assure you.
Two of them can't come out at the same time.
Bottleneck it.
What I'll do is I'll lock that gate, and now if anything tries to get out, it's going to have to try to crawl out, and we'll just stand there and hack its head off when it tries.
Well, I'm going to say that the chances of one of those things. I mean, it would take quite a while for one of those things to realize that it had to sort of duck down or crawl under the chain to get through it. It would.
So at this point, it just makes it really easy to kill them when they try to get out.
That's one of those things.
At the very least,
but not necessarily Dr. Rigaud.
Somebody needs to alert more authorities so that we can get people here to help us. Do we have people who are higher up than we are that we know of? Or, I mean, obviously we're soldiers.
I mean, they're.
The captain is dead. Who do we tell?
We've been soldiers for 5 years or 4 years. We've got to be taking orders from somebody, or
perhaps a committee. Beaumont. Find him and his block captain or whoever he is working with.
I don't even know where he is. Are there gendarmes? Are there police? at this point in time?
Definitely not police.
I guess
No,
we're police.
yeah, I mean the nearest to law enforcement is you.
Yeah, it's probably us and like the night watch that's out looking for fires and stuff.
What are we going to do? We have the undead and maybe the doctor being controlled by Fenelek. I think the doctor is dead.
I think
Oh, sorry. Go.
I think the doctor was reading a little too much into Fenelek's work. But regardless, whether he's dead or whether he has turned himself into a monster, the end result is the same.
Yeah, more unholy mess like we just found 5 years ago.
I bet you're regretting not going into the priesthood now, eh?
More importantly, what is this? What are they doing down there? Obviously, they don't care about putting the dead, but if he is able to reanimate the dead, he's building a fucking army of the undead underneath the city in the catacombs.
Oh, please do not say that. And I'm gonna go grab one of the skulls.
I'm sorry, I won't.
I'm gonna grab up one of the skulls that's been dropped. Is there anything weird about this skull? Has it been prepared in any way?
No, it's
skull?
it's a normal human skull.
Okay. I smash it. Anything inside?
Just normal human remnants of decayed brain matter.
Do we have anything in this area that, since we're here day after day,
Sorry,
benches, a table?
sorry. Could I just go back to Baban for a second?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But Baban, could you make a luck roll for me, please?
Oh, good. 18 out of 50. I make it. I guess hard.
Okay. That's fine. Okay. On this occasion, you do not contract gas gangrene
Oh,
from smashing open.
Is there just this like foul vapor that comes out of it and like a fog
Yeah. But
sound plays in the background?
Such is the stench of the catacombs on a July evening that your chances of distinguishing the stench from that broken skull from the general stench of the catacombs is very unlikely. You'd have to probably be a bloodhound to distinguish the two. I mean, it's when you get within about 10 feet of the opening of the catacombs, there's just this miasma.
Oh,
A feta. That's feta with an O-U-R, meaning a fetid smell, not feta, the Greek cheese, which is very nice in a salad.
what are we going to do, my friends?
I think we're just opening up a whole can of worms like we did a few years ago.
I'm trying to close this can of worms.
We have 3 good lanterns. We could trade 2 and put some wine and some food in our belly and go back to the barracks.
But what about these monsters? We must.
We give it a little while. We wait until Rigaud returns, then we
Chop off his head.
fire a volley into him.
I don't think bullets are going to do anything unless you blow up his skull with a bullet.
Could I have some listen rolls, please?
We all know that the last one was a vampire. I passed 55 out of 70.
What was that? A listen roll, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
What
that
is-
didn't pass.
What is going on? Why did you
Oh,
all
no,
stop
no.
talking?
55 out of 55. I'm sorry.
Ugel, you're not sure because of the sound of your comrades talking, but you think you might be able to hear the sound of someone coming up the stairs.
I wave my hand. I point towards the gates.
All right.
Loaded guns out.
Yeah.
It's my low battery
Ah.
sound.
He has been perverted like Fenelek.
Well, once
That was
whatever.
just say that was the rattling of some, but that was something that
Bones.
was on some skulls as they went past, making a rudimentary xylophone.
Well, just get ready. We're going to chop this thing's off, whatever heads off.
Okay, it doesn't take long. It's 10, 15 seconds later, and you start seeing the telltale hump of another one of these hooded figures.
I'm sorry, monsieur. You will have to climb on your hands and knees to get out.
Now, the gates are like this with a space in between, correct?
2 foot
Yeah, it's
space.
quite
Yeah.
a big space. Mhm.
Can I run to the farthest part of the gate? Like, so that the middle's here, I want to go to the opposite side, so there would be a wall and the gate, and try and get its attention away from the opening.
I
Yeah,
don't think he's paying any
Well,
attention.
Well, there's a chain across the opening.
Right.
but
Right,
they don't.
but
I mean, I'll tell you now that they don't seem to react to your presence.
Okay,
at all.
I thought it was like kind of ravenous.
I mean, for the most part, if you don't interfere with them, then they just walk out up the stairs. They get to where the chain is, and then they just sort of bump into the chain.
Okay.
And the first one bumps into the chain and takes a couple of steps back and walks forward again and bumps into the chain. And then soon the second one that's with it arrives behind it. And then you have this bizarre spectacle of one of them taking a step forward, bumping into the chain, bumping back. He bumps into the one behind him that's taking a step forward, who then steps back and takes a step forward, knocking him into the chain. And this is like the sort of Newton's cradle. They're just...
That's great.
And they don't... It seems that they don't even have the capacity to work out that they should duck or move out of the way of the other one. They're just stuck in this.
In our estimation from today's proceedings, how many of these do we think there are?
Well, as I said before, one of your duties was to count the number of people who go down into the catacombs and to make sure that the same number of people come up afterwards. So you know that there were 12 workers who went down into the catacombs with him.
We've killed 2 of them.
And you have killed 2 of them. Yes.
I'm wondering, what if we catch them on fire? Is there danger of burning down the whole city?
It's been very hot and dry recently.
Well, and I imagine there's lots of dead bodies down below in the catacombs that just amount to dry fuel to burn.
Well,
The whole catacombs on
lots
fire.
of bones and I mean, I think the danger with the catacombs, given that you have been down in the catacombs, and the catacombs are extremely dusty, I think the danger with fire in the catacombs is the dust. It would be a dust explosion.
So we would avoid that idea.
Well, with them bounced up against that chain, then especially if the one's being kind of pushed up against it by the other one, I just want to.
If it weren't for the fact that you knew what was under those hoods, it would almost be quite comical.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're aware of the obscenity that's underneath these things
Is there a can we find a cart or something nearby to block the entrance?
I think they rolled off.
There are a couple of hand carts. They're not perhaps in the best of condition. If they were working, they wouldn't have been abandoned here. But they'll have like one wheel or one of the handles for pushing them might be broken or something, would be in some way damaged. But you'd be able to just sort of manhandle it and use it to block the gap between the gates. Yes.
There were some bones on the floor that were dropped, and when the guys with the carts took off, did they spill any bones out?
There would have been a little bit of spillage. Yeah.
My thought process is if we just kind of put the bones through the gate on the floor. Will they pick them up and just walk back downstairs with the bones?
They'll
We
just
could-
eventually come back up again.
Yeah, but we can keep them busy by giving them a bone at a time until we figure out what to do.
If anything, I say we kill them now, one at a time as they come up. And actually, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up to that, as they bump against the chain, I'm going to try to bury my axe in the first one's head. And then...
Don't accidentally hit the chain and break the chain. Right now, they're creating their own effective plug.
Yeah.
And remembering, if you will, the children's rhyme, knick knack paddywhack, give a hideous reanimated cadaver
A bone.
a bone.
Oh, yeah. You're gonna give him the bone. Oh my God. So I guess, is there a second watch that's going to come on duty at some point? You'll never guess what happened to us.
Well, they come on at dawn,
Well,
which is some hours away. Yeah.
we should eliminate as many as we can before Rigaud comes back.
I thought if Rico can't get to us, he's behind 12 of them if he wants to get back. I think Rigaud is one of them.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying before. We all know what Fenelak was. Pal, you said he had something on his neck. I mean, it's not a leap of faith to suggest that he's also perverted now.
It could be lividity. He could be pale because he died and all of the blood sunk to the back of his body, and now he's walking around because Fenelak is
Something.
controlling him. I don't know. But Sergeant, you are in charge. You tell us what we must do.
In Axe we trust, and I'm going to hit the first one in the head.
I mean, to be honest, just to go back to the Rigaud thing for a moment, before we get onto the combat there, he's very pale, and he has got this strange mottled patch on his neck. But his paleness doesn't strike you as that unusual, given that up until a few years ago, people habitually made themselves up to look that pale.
Right, but upstanding citizens don't usually show up on a cart with 12 reanimated corpses.
What if...
Well, not as a rule, but I mean, these are unusual times,
What if we have all made a mistake here? You mentioned it yourself. What if Rigaud has been delving into the magic of Fenelak in his books, and he is the one who is reanimating the corpse?
That's what I was saying. Well, I didn't say he reanimated, but if he is taking on the path of Fenelak, maybe he is the one,
Still, I don't know what to do at this point other than just stand here. And, well, you said we just chop the heads off of each one and keep our bodies out of being grabbed by one of them.
And as soon as Rigaud pops his head up around that corner, have your rifles ready to fire.
Actually, it should be fairly easy since they don't seem to resist until after you've damaged them. So you should be able to get yourself in position, and when one comes to the gate, you just cut its head off.
Well, on that note, let's go back to Baban, who was about to attack the front one. So, would you like to roll to hit? Are you targeting the head?
Yes.
In which case, there will be a penalty dice, please.
Okay. I mean, since there's no urgency on this, can I kind of, I guess, take the time to aim and just wait till it bounces off, goes back, and then comes up again to
Okay, yes. If you're doing that, then I'll say that cancels out the need for a penalty dice. So we can just do it as a standard.
Okay. And on that one, 13 to whack it in the head. Out of 60, so hard success.
Okay, roll for damage, please.
9 damage.
9 damage.
Accent.
Okay. All right, you hit it in the head, doing what you imagine is quite a large amount of damage, but it's got its hood on. You can't really, all you see is your axe buries into the hood, and then you pull it out again. It feels like you've done it quite a lot of damage, but at the very moment that axe slams into its head, both the creature in front of you and the one behind it just slip into that enraged state instantly. And the one at the front hurls itself towards you, missing, but just sort of blindly lashing out at you, while the other one sort of just slams into the gate and just is almost like it's trying to sort of just force itself, push itself through the gate to get to you.
Now for the bayonets, boys.
Well, I'm thinking, Pressy, if you just stand to the side, if they stick their arms out, you just slice them off like a
that
like
works.
a meat slicer.
I can do that. If someone sticks an arm through.
They apparently have no brains.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stand in front of them and just rile them up, keep them focused on me, and then when they grab at me, I'm gonna let Pressy do his thing.
We'll chop these.
Come on, you bastards! Come get me!
Turn these monsters into merde.
Okay, well, I won't make you roll for that because that's it's quite simple. They're a static target. Pressy, you chop off enough limbs from these things to realize that there's something pretty weird going on here.
Really?
Because like you're getting like sort of these things are sticking their arms through the bars and over the chain to try and get at you and Baban, and you would think, particularly in a state of decomposition, you would think that raising up your saber and bringing it down on an arm like that, bringing it down right in the crook of the elbow, you would think that you would just sever that arm, at least partially. And in fact, that's in several cases, that's what does happen. You do partially sever the arm. But in every single case, as soon as you do a certain degree of damage to the arm, it just sort of falls off. And not where you're cutting, it falls off at the shoulder.
Are they sutured? Are these like sutures coming loose?
No, it definitely it looks like it's just sort of
Falling like a lizard's tail.
Kind of like that, and just you get the impression. I mean, looking at the color of these limbs, which are ranging from anywhere from a sort of grey blue color to an almost black. It occurs to you that these workers, these carcasses, these creatures are in some areas or in some cases seem to be in a state of decomposition. I mean, one of them was certainly easier to chop through than the other. But in both cases, you had this same phenomenon of just limbs just dropping off.
When the limbs drop off, do they continue to move in any way?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. They're absolutely lifeless.
This flesh is dead already. Should not be moving.
He must be using the bodies of the people who are being guillotined to make these monstrosities. I'm going to take my bayonet and take a couple seconds to aim, and when the thing moves forward, I'm just going to hit it right between the eyes and into its brain.
Okay, make a roll for that, please. I'll actually, we'll say that aiming will offset the penalty dice thing, so just normal hit.
31, easy.
So you I'll treat it as a coup de grace. You pick up your musket and squinting through one eye, you aim and you plunge that bayonet square into the middle of its forehead, firmly opening its third eye, and its lights go out. As the one behind what's new. No, don't tell me what's new on StarCraft. I'll just turn you off. There we are. The second one, sort of banging its head against the gate next to you as this goes on.
It's got a dead body laying in front of the.
And again, from the stairs, you can hear that now familiar sound of that strange, soft, creeping noise. And it's quite strange. You hear the noise, and it almost strikes you as ludicrous, really, that how have you managed to fight so many of these things before and not realise that they're barefooted? How did you not notice that when they came into the caverns? But they don't seem to be wearing boots. They're just some of them are barefooted, some of them are just cloth tied around their feet. I guess you don't notice the feet of people as they're walking in and out in the dark like that. But
we know that when they cut people's heads off, that they take their boots because they're poor people who want their boots.
This is true.
Wow. All right. Well,
I think we'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, that's a good spot.
So we could conceivably, the way things are going in this game at the moment, we could conceivably stand at that gate, killing those things for quite some time to come at the moment.
Yeah. Our players included Fred Carter, Luke Strong, Jason Melnichuk, and myself, with Juan as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We like reading them. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.
Arco,